So let's go and get it kicked off with the offensive tackles. We're going to dive deeper on the top 5, but I do want to shout out my 10 through 6. Drew, I don't know if you have a 10 through 6 to get to, but I'll go and shout mine out first. My number 10 is Kingsley Suamataia. My number 9 is Jordan Morgan. My number 8 is Tyler Guyton. My number 7 is Blake Fisher. And my number 6 is J.C. Latham. Drew, do you have a 6 through 10, 10 through 6 to get to?
I don't. Unfortunately, I have a real job that takes up my time, and I'm not able to. Let's be honest, top 5s are easy, and we could sit here, and I'm not a, I told you at dinner the other night that we should rename the podcast to a scout and a gambler, because you're the scout and I'm the gambler, and I really go based off of what I'm hearing, much like Daniel Jeremiah versus what I'm watching. Because frankly, when I watch college football during the season, I play the hits. I'm not sitting here grinding too much Iowa. I'm more watching the exciting stuff going on. So
right.
I don't have a 6 through 10 on anything except for maybe safety, because there seemed to be 2 top safeties and then a whole bunch of guys that were like could go anywhere from like 60 to 100. So that's definitely. We talked about it. So besides that, I'm a top 5 guy, man. I like to play the hits.
Okay, then let's go ahead and kick it off with your number 5 guy. Who we have?
Clearly, this guy's not on your list because I have at number 5 J.C. Latham.
Yep. So J.C. Latham was my 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you see J.C. Latham more as a tackle or a guard?
It's really a team fit. I think it's going to be specifically for this player because there's teams that want that 370-pound, 6'8" guy, and then there's the teams, power run teams, and then there's the teams that run the zone read, the wide zone stuff that needs somebody who's a little more agile. I think a player, not to jump too far away, but I think a player like Graham Barton in the 49ers run scheme fits all over the place, whereas a lot of teams might just see him as a center or a guard, depending on, a Steelers offense with their power run game, or a Colts offense with Jonathan Taylor. These power running backs, they want these bigger, outside tackles. So does he fit as a tackle for some teams? Yes. Other teams, no. For the sake of this, I put him as a tackle.
Okay. Yeah. I see him. I agree with you. I think that his form as is, and I guess we see everything through different lenses, right? You see a lot of your lenses through, the 49ers. So you might, gauge some of your stuff off of that. I see a lot of my lens through the Cowboys. So I would see J.C. Latham more of a guard in our schemes and situation more than a tackle. But yeah, I totally see what you're saying. It's not that I didn't like any of the guys 6 through 10. I genuinely think my guys 6 through 10, J.C. Latham, Blake Fisher, Tyler Guyton, Jordan Morgan, Kingsley Suamataia, I think all those guys are potential starters in the league in a very short period of time, year 2 at max. I mean, guys who are more developmental, like Tyler Guyton, Kingsley Suamataia, and then J.C. Latham to a certain extent are all going to make an impact more year 2 or 3. I think Blake Fisher and Jordan Morgan are going to make an impact right now. I really like all these guys. But my number 5 is Amarius Mims. I don't know if he's in your top 5, if we're going to see him there. But it's not that J.C. Latham's bad. It's just this is how good these offensive tackles to me are. Amarius Mims is just a guy to me that is a hulking monster of a man. God don't make them like that. That big, that agile, that fast. Newsflash, this man has only started 8 games as a tackle in college. And this man is my number 5 tackle. And I'm not huge on the whole. I see potential. I definitely do. That's why I have guys like Kingsley Suamataia my 10. But I genuinely like his tape. I think his tape is genuinely impressive. His feet are a little bit heavy. His kick slides are a little bit slow. He's not super powerful off the line. Like when he gets into the run game, like let's say Broderick Jones was last year. I remember him being just really explosive right off the jump. And he's not exactly like that to that point, but there's a lot of sets where he's really agile and his kick slide is really wide and he gets to his set really fast. He doesn't get burned on a lot of secondary moves. If he gets his hands on you and he punches them right in your chest, it's kind of game over for a lot of the guys in college. They can't really compete with a guy with that type of length and that type of speed. And then his grip strength is just, again, it's incredible, super powerful, super strong, super tall, and really athletic. So I don't know if you have Amarius Mims in your top five.
I don't. 6'7", 340 though. The man's a beast. I I did almost go to 8 here on the tackles just because of because of Mims, because of Graham Barton, and because of Tyler Guyton. But you said top 5, so I did top 5, and it wasn't. When I put a JC Latham in there on the tackle line, it's more just about where I'm seeing him mocked to these
Yeah.
teams, and I think to myself, well, if you're taking a JC Latham that high, then you're planning on playing him at tackle because
Mm.
where I see him going, you don't need to stretch for a guard at that point. Maybe a versatile person, maybe a swing tackle or whatever. But frankly, if you're taking a tackle in the top 20, you're hoping to insert him, if not week one, year one, and cement him as somebody who's going to play offensive lineman for you for a really long time. So
Yeah, absolutely. Who's at your number 4 spot?
So here we go with 4, 3, and 2. I'm just calling them the 3 Fs. You know what I mean? Like I kind of am curious how
Mm-hmm.
you ranked them, just because I think that you know when the mocks first started rolling out, you 2 or 3 tackles in the top 12 we were seeing, and now we're only seeing one in the top 12 because all these teams are jumping up. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of more interested to see who you put at 4, because I know you're actually. Well, go ahead. You give me 4. I'm kind of curious to see. Did you go with the conventional wisdom at 1, or did you put somebody different at 1?
Um, my 1 is chalk, but it was hard for me with 1 and 2.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Cool.
I'll break that down when I get to it. Do you want me to just
Sure.
fire off 4, 3, 2 real quick?
Yeah, just hit him. Just hit him.
Troy Fautanu, 3 is Talisi Fuanga, and 2 is Olu Fashanu.
See, I knew you were going to do that. I put Fashanu at 4.
Yeah. Go ahead. Why Fashanu at 4?
I don't really feel too strongly about this one way or another. When I was looking at the offensive linemen, I really just didn't do what I should have done. I really just looked at a lot of mock drafts, and I'm looking at, all right, I'm looking at PFF's big board. I'm looking at Matt Miller's big board. I'm looking at SB Nation's big board, even though they seem to be kind of like, whack over there. I'm looking at a lot of different places, and it just seems like these top 3 guys, I'm sorry, 2 through 4, because everybody thinks Joe Alt's number 1. People are all over the board with these guys on who they think's best. And I think the fact of the matter is it's probably going to turn out that 2 of these guys are going to be stone cold Pro Bowlers, and one guy's going to be a massive bust. That's just going to be the way it shakes out.
Yeah.
But I did put Fashanu at 4, even though I know you love him. And
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe I did it subconsciously to give us something to argue about here,
Yeah.
but I'm not really trying to tell you why he's the 4th best tackle in this class, because you probably wanted to put him 1 if you could, if you got pretty crazy.
I did.
So
I did want to put him 1. Originally when I first did my offensive tackle rankings, now a couple of months ago, when I initially did them, Fashanu was my 1. And I thought about this and I'm like, it's because he has the best pass blocking in this class, and it's not close. You had guys who are who's homeboy from Ohio State, where it's 44, has the long hair. I always forget his name. But bro just stayed away from him in the Penn State game. He just completely went away from him. He did not want to go up against Fashanu, but he went right up against Joe Alt, and he had no problems doing it. And there's a couple of those examples throughout the film in this past year. He's the best pass blocking tackle in the class. It's not very close. And his run blocking isn't as abysmal as people want to make it out to be. But my idea when I put him at 1 was he can get better. He can develop that. Until the combine happened and they measured his hands. And when you have never before seen small hands for a tackle, it's concerning. That's probably why you can't get a grip on guys. That's probably why you're not moving guys around. Instead of gripping them and moving them, you're pushing them. You're just pushing them and pushing because you can't get a grip on them. And I think that's just unfortunate. He just wasn't blessed with that, those type of limbs. That's
Sure.
the unfortunate part. So that's why he's my 2 instead of my 1. I really like all these guys, right? 1 through 4. I like Troy Fautanu has the extreme versatility with playing tackle and playing guard. Kind of play him anywhere that you want. His problem, the Fautanu's problem, is just he's a little bit too aggressive. He gets overextended sometimes, and he doesn't have a lot of weight in his lower half of his body, so it takes him a lot to kind of recover off of that. So he can get beat if he overextends and his shoulders get over his toes. So he does have that problem, especially in the run game. He can kind of overextend a little bit. Fuanga's so much fun to watch. This dude is like a cannon, shot out of a cannon. As soon as that ball is snapped and there's a run play, he's running after you, bro, and he's so quick. I think he has the quickest kick slide out of any of the tackles here on the list. The only reason he's not 2 or 1 is because I like Fashanu, and Alt's just that good. It just comes back to, it's like, damn, he's really boring to watch because he's really good at a lot of things. I like to be able to watch guys, and yes, they're really good, they're really impressive, but I like to be able to pick things out. Okay, he's not very good there. Okay, he's pretty weak there. Oh, he's clicking his heels. His kick slide's not very good on a lot of these plays. Like, let's see what else I can pick out of it. Joe Alt's just boring, man. I mean, he really is. He's just because he's that good. It's really unfortunate. It's funny I say that, but it is unfortunate. He's just that good. There's not that much that, I mean, he's big. He's 6'8", but he has a lot of good core strength, and he plays with a lot of like center of gravity. For a 6'8" guy to play with a lot of center of gravity and play low is impressive. There's not a lot of guys who get up inside of his pads. He keeps his hands exactly where they're supposed to be. He's just boring at the end of the day. So,
yeah, I mean, Fashanu had an amazing pass blocking grade PFF, second highest rated, I think he was, right behind a guy who's nowhere near on our list. But you know how PFF is. Where he really struggled, where he was really graded poorly, was zone run. And that's where we kind of talked about earlier. It really just depends on the fit and where these players are going to be drafted. When you look at a player like, now I can't think of his name. When you're looking at a player, do you draft to the potential of your team, or do you just draft best player available? When you look at Joe Alt, and I got it up in front of me, Joe Alt is the second highest ranked pass blocker out of all the tackles last year. He's also the second highest run blocker. Funnily enough, Fuaga is the highest rated run blocker in the class, but he's a very, very average pass blocker grade. PFF wise. He's all the way down in like the top 30, which, I mean, obviously we're talking until you go and look at that play by play, you don't really know if what happened on those exact plays that he was poorly guarded on. But Fashanu, clearly a thing that he struggles with is the zone run blocking.
Yeah.
Obviously, if there's a team very, very high in the draft who doesn't run a zone run scheme, then it doesn't matter to them. So it's just one of those things. When you really start breaking down and I know I'll hear the criticism, PFF isn't the end all be all, whatever. You know who the number one running quarterback in the NFL was last year per PFF?
Running quarterback?
Yeah. Running situations.
Shit. Damn it.
Should be easy.
Yeah. I don't
have it. You know, my boy Brock, number one running quarterback in QB situations last year. So that you know, when you got Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and those guys, that might be a little like, are you serious, Brock Purdy? So I know PFF's not the end all be all, but generally speaking, they're looking at every single snap. And you know me, I'm just playing the highlights. So obviously on this one, number one was pretty easy. But I wouldn't argue with anybody that would want to mix the 3 T's, as I call them, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to argue JC Latham and Mims, I don't really hate that either. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And there's other guys.
Tackle class.
100%. That's why we started kicking it off with the tackle class, because we believe it is the best position group in the draft. If you need a tackle, it's a great draft to need one, because if you don't get one in the first round, there's a good chance there's going to be a guy in the second or third round that you can go ahead and grab who's going to end up being really good.